Of the way. All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday night classes. We do these every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, and I promise we're quick. We come in, we do about 30 minutes. However, I mean, hormones is a big topic, and I have to say, I stress trying to pack all this stuff in like 30 minutes. So I'm going to honor your time, though. My name is Kathy McGhin, and tonight we're talking about happy hormones. And so I am so excited to unpack this for you. It's really like peeling an onion. There's just so many layers, so many things that I could talk about, but I put together something just kind of the top parts to give you a great understanding of how your hormones work inside the body, because that is the most important part. I'm going to share with you my story, how I got started years ago understanding, and why it's so important for us to understand our endocrine system, which is basically our hormones and how it affects our body in every way. Now, before I get started, and I always don't know why this does this. I'm having there it goes. My slide always wants to stall on the first one. Don't know why. So before we get started and go too far, I do want to tell you that over 5 years ago, I got started with Young Living. And for me, it was a pretty easy choice. I had already kind of gotten on the bandwagon of looking at more natural products. I had never used essential oils. And so when my friend introduced me to Young Living, I did some homework. And what I found was that they had the seed to seal guarantee. I love that. They have almost every product that I could possibly need for my home and my family in one place. I love that. Shopping, well, one-stop shop. But they gave me a seed to seal guarantee. And what that means is if you buy something that says plant-based, all natural, or whatever, you don't have a direct insight to that company to get a guarantee that says they don't have synthetic fillers, they don't use pesticides on their crop, that you have no say over how it's packaged and what happens to it along the way. But with Young Living, you do get that guarantee. You get a seed to seal guarantee. So from their farms that never have any pesticides, to the cropping, it has to be cropped just right. If it's too early or too late, then the peak performance of the essential oil or product is not at its highest performance. And then there's also the distillation process. If it's not distilled properly, if there's heat in the packaging, it could alter the oil in the bottle. So there is so much that goes into it and care. And there's so many tests along the way that they tested. And if it does not meet the standard testing requirements, y'all, we don't receive that bottle at our front door. I find that pretty amazing and also very comforting, because I'm using this not only for myself, but for my family. So that's pretty cool. So let's just jump right in, because I got a lot of stuff to tell you girls tonight, and you're going to want to take a little bit of notes, I promise you. So hormones. I could technically probably take this little cheat sheet because I loved it and just stop the class right there. This is a great little cheat sheet that tells you pretty much with Young Living products, every little problem that you may have associated with your hormones, what you could take and use to help support your hormones. God created hormones in our body like little messengers. And so they guide our growth function, our reproduction, our energy, our moods, our heart rate, our cholesterol levels, our cardiac health, blood pressure, and so much more. And we're going to dissect this as we move along. So what are hormones and what do they do? We just talked about a little bit. It affects our metabolism. It affects our growth and development. It affects our hair and our skin. It affects tissue function, our reproduction, our libido, our sexual libido function, sleep, mood, weight gain, all of these issues that you have that comes with your hormone. And every single female will have hormonal issues at different seasons of her life that will create havoc. And if it's kind of like this, hormones, and I'm going to talk about them a little bit more here on the next slide. But, and I'm going to talk a little more about a physician. I'm a nurse by trade, and I used to work with this amazing, brilliant doctor who I was thankful, and I'll share my story in just a few minutes. as to why he held my hand at such a devastating time. And I'm so thankful that I not only got to work beside him, but that he had so much great information on how and insight into hormones and how I could personally try to help take care of myself. But hormonal imbalance contributes to migraines, insomnia, weak bones, weight gains, you name it. We have all seen issues from our hormonal imbalance. So here's the thing. Whoops, let's go back. There we go. Let's get over here. I'm going to move some of this out of the way. Here we go. All right. So just some great information, clinical studies, because essential oils affects our hormone. They're basically revolving on what we call a hormonal stress brain axis, if you will, due to their aromatic and bioactive properties. With one inhale, their aroma can instantaneously change our mood as the chemical constituents modulate on a molecular pathway. What does that mean? That means when we inhale our essential oils, basically they are instantly within seconds changing the mood because they connect to our cells. Essential oils modulate the estrogen levels based on what our body needs only. So they're never going to give you too much because it only uses or balances. The body's always trying to go into balance. So it only brings us to a balance, which is extremely different than if you go in and they check your levels and they're like, you know, you need some kind of replacement therapy, estrogen replacement therapy. This is very different because then you have to have your levels checked and you can overproduce, and that's a different problem. So one of the studies that I was looking at was 22 women. They studied 22 women in their 50s and found and tested them. So they did a check before they inhaled clary sage and after they inhaled clary sage. And guess what? After they inhaled clary sage, they did not even apply it topically. It lowered their cortisol. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. It elevated their mood. Hello, our emotional support, and relieved their menopausal symptoms. That is pretty incredible, guys. So our endocrine system drives our body. It's it's like a collection of all these different components. It's our pituitary gland. It's our hypothalamus. It's adrenal glands, thyroid, pancreas, ovaries, and for men, of course, testes. And so years ago, one doctor that I worked with said, you know, it's kind of like when you think about going to a dance recital or a big play or a big production, and they're all on stage and they've got all these, you know, they're doing this big dance. But if one person doesn't make that move just in the right time, it throws the whole thing off. Our endocrine system works very similarly. If one part is off, then everything else, because it sends messages to each one to do something different, then everything gets thrown off. So our endocrine means, it comes from Greek, and it means endo and crinis, and it means to secrete. So it secretes our hormones, a collection of organs and glands that secrete our hormones. When secreted, they circulate through our entire bloodstream. It goes throughout our cells. So as you can see, it's extremely important for our overall health and wellness, guys, because it connects the dot. It affects every center of our body. And we're going to talk about this in the next slide, but it literally, our hormone levels affects our cholesterol. It affects our glucose, our insulin levels. It affects our heart rate. It affects our blood pressure. And so when our hormones are not in balance and homeostasis, which is what it's always trying to do, if it's not in balance, then it is going to create havoc in other areas of our body. And that's when we start to break down and can cause other sicknesses just from the beginning of our hormones. Now, these are the three main female hormones. I don't have time, I wish I did, to really break this down. I could have done this class in a series. I would have loved to, because I absolutely love talking about the endocrine system. It goes so deep and there's lots of information. But for time's sake, I'm just going to talk about three of the main ones. The first one is estrogen. It's produced in our ovaries and our adrenal glands, and it helps to regulate the production Our skin elasticity, it dilates our blood vessels. It also increases our neurotransmitters. So hello, sleep, our sexual libido, all of that. Attention span, y'all, that's important. You know, we always hear somebody say their focus or mental clarity is not there anymore. It could be that it's a part of our hormonal imbalance. And the main function is to, obviously, is to stimulate reproduction tissue and breast tissue. Now, progesterone is produced by our ovaries and adrenals, and some gets produced in our brain cells. It works with our pancreatic hormones. It aids in the development of breast and reproductive organs. It prevents plaque in our blood vessels. Enter the cholesterol issue. It lowers our triglycerides. Y'all, that's the bad cholesterol. So if our hormones are out of whack, then it very well could be that now you've started this whole domino effect of other illnesses based off of our hormones. So it's very important that we try to keep them as balanced as possible. Maintains libido in a healthy way. Testosterone, and yes, women produce testosterone. We only need a small amount of it. It strengthens our bones. It protects us again against cardiovascular disease. So it's very, very important. Sleep and energy, we need it. We just don't need it a little bit. Now, what happens is when we have estrogen, progesterone, and our testosterone, and we're all in balance, they link hands like this. They're best of pals, and together they're a powerhouse, and nothing can take your body down. But when you break them apart and they become imbalanced, then things start to happen that's not so good for you. All right, so let's talk toxicity. Because this is where your hormones start to break down, is your toxicity. Many of the foods that we eat, like sugar, artificial sweeteners, chemicals in the environment, our household cleaners, pesticides, Febreze, they either drive our estrogen production, our natural estrogen, or they drive what's called xenoestrogens. They contain xenoestrogens, and I'm going to explain that and what they are in just a second. But when someone tells me, and I learned this a long time ago, but when someone tells me that they have painful monthly cycles, it should never be a painful monthly cycle. We don't know that when we're growing up. We don't learn. We think that's just part of the process. But that is not normal. It is not normal to have a harsh monthly cycle. The very first thing that you need to do is a liver cleanse. The liver is a very big component of our hormonal being balanced, because if we're all this toxicity that we've got and it's producing and we're trying to break down our hormones, it can't do it. And so when it cannot break it down, then guess what? The liver's so sluggish that it starts to back up. It creates imbalance, and therefore you can have either poor monthly cycles, heavier cycles, and more than likely a lot of cramping that goes with your cycles. So where else do we get all this toxicity? We do get it from our food. But guys, you got to get the laundry detergents and cleaners. Literally, if you don't do anything else with essential oils, I have always stressed, get your laundry room and get your cleaners and start there. It's critical. Those dryer sheets are so toxic. They're so bad for you. They definitely have hormonal disruptors in them. So laundry detergents, cleaners, all of our personal care products, for women, shampoo, what we shave our legs with, eyeshadow, nail polish, all of the things that we grow up as girls loving. And unless we are now being aware and choosing better products, it's all bad for you. It causes hormonal imbalance and disruption in the body. And you see what can happen when we are in an imbalance. It's not good and it's not healthy. It's the beginning and the center of not being healthy. So it is important for us to choose plant-based products, low toxic, if possible, chemical-free products, and make better choices. So I talked just a few minutes about xenoestrogens. They're just an artificial estrogen, and it mimics chemicals. They're very disruptive and harmful estrogens that are much stronger in effect, and we just have to stay away from them. Where do they come from? All of those things that I just talked about, that's where we get them from. And guess what? They get in your body, they travel in your bloodstream, and they contact your cell. It's kind of like knocking on your door. Hello, I want to come in. And they trick it because it enters your receptor site. It binds it, okay, because they let it in because your body thinks it's an estrogen. It's not a real estrogen. And in fact, it's a bad estrogen. It's going to have a totally different effect on the body, but it lets it in and it's very harmful. So once it gets in there, it can cause estrogen dominance. Now I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes because almost every female will go through that. It produces a more pronounced hormone response by activating that receptor. And you get abnormal responses to it. So that leads to cancer, adrenal fatigue, cardiac issues, glucose issues, a lot of major problems in the body. The other part of this problem is it blocks our natural hormones. So then it's already knocked on your cell receptor. You were tricked, you let it in, your receptor let it in. And then when your real natural estrogen comes knocking, it's not letting it in. And so now we have another problem because our natural estrogen can't get in there and give us the balance that our body needs and be healthy. So we have to take the xenoestrogens and make sure that we clear the room from that stuff. The more that you can get away from you, the better. All of these things that are coming from xenoestrogens that you get from these synthetics, chemical products, all of the things, candles, all of that can cause thyroid cancer, prostate cancer, ADD, cognitive difficulties, learning disabilities. And according to Dr. Greenspan and Dr. Deardorff, the percentage of girls 8 and under who are starting to undergo puberty has tripled in the last 30 years. From 5% to 15%, just from environmental, from our foods and the products that we are putting in our home. It is very important that we start to monitor that, learn to read labels, and make better choices. When we know better, we do better. And when we do better, our body will respond in a better way. All right, so let's talk about something good. Phytoestrogens is just, they're an estrogen compound found in what? Plant material. Guys, our precious oils are perfect for our bodies. Isn't it incredible that they are made to go hand in hand? They just naturally support each other. So you still amazed at how well they support our bodies? No, I'm not, because they're designed to give our body everything it needs to bring it into balance. Phytoestrogens mimics an estrogen on the opposite of xenoestrogen. It's the good kind of phytoestrogen. So when our body is not producing enough, then the phytoestrogens comes in and goes in just like everything else. It fits right into that receptor site, demonstrates both estrogenic and anti-estrogenic effects, and then that creates homeostasis in the body. It creates a state of balance. So our plants are absolutely amazing, my friends. All right, so really quick, progessence deficiency, progesterone deficiency. Progesterone is considered the happy hormone, if you will. It can ease contractions of our uterine wall, so it's very important during our monthly cycle. It also is very important in preventing immune disorders and protects against cancer. Immune disorders are elevated in women a lot by, I can't even remember the percentage, but just about every female develops an immune disorder. But it's becoming because of our progesterone deficiency within our body, our hormone imbalance. All right, so I wanted to talk really quick about estrogen dominance because it's truly the #1 issue with hormones in the United States. And just about every one of us females at some season of our life is going to go through it. So Dr. John Arley said that the condition of estrogen dominance is basically when your estrogen levels, and it has nothing to do with it by itself, but it's when your progesterone is and estrogen to balance is, in fact, basically your progesterone and testosterone is 0. So in other words, you could go in and get tested and your estrogen level could be low, but you're still in estrogen dominance because your progesterone and your testosterone is absolutely 0. So therefore, even though you're not producing a lot of estrogen, you're not producing any progesterone and testosterone. So therefore, you're still in what's called estrogen dominant. So you have the ratio of estrogen progesterone is important or as important as the overall levels. So how do we combat that? So most important action is to rid your body and environment of the toxic xenoestrogens that I talked about, found in your foods, your cleaners, your cosmetic, all of our personal care products. So super important. And, you know, let's not forget that I talked about our liver is not breaking down, our toxic environmental products. It can also come from medications. Hormonal replacement therapy can cause this, and stress. Stress is a big one that breaks everything down and can also cause. So what does estrogen dominance look like, feel like? Too much estrogen can lead to increased inflammation, anxiety, depression, excessive menstrual bleeding, PCOS, PMS, low testosterone. Does that sound familiar? Almost every female goes through this at some point in season in her world. That's why I wanted to talk about estrogen dominance, because most girls don't even know what this is, but they have the symptoms. They know they have these symptoms, but they don't understand where it's coming from. So estrogen and progesterone work together. If you don't have the balance, then they're not as good if one is lacking, in other words. So estrogen is much stronger than progesterone. So it's easy to overshadow, but it's necessary. Estrogen is necessary. And remember, they're like this. They're the best of friends, and together you cannot tear them apart. They are amazing what they do in the body. So that's why we have to keep our body in balance. And because of our exposure to xenoestrogens in our foods and our environment, you know, women now are at risk by age 30 to 35 of developing estrogen dominance if they don't beforehand. And they are seeing that a lot of women in that age category are going into premenopausal a lot sooner than, say, 30 years ago, because of the environmental and the way our foods are processed now. So you can have balance with natural options. So I gave you a lot of bad things, what it looks like when it's not balanced. But guys, there is hope. You can have balance with natural options. There are proven strategies that can balance your hormones. I want to tell you, before I get into dividing into these oils and giving you some really great products and ideas on how to use them, I want to share with you my story, a really quick story. And I want this to encourage someone that maybe is going through something, or you're fearful of, maybe you've got to have a hysterectomy, or maybe you feel like your hormones are all out of whack. It's going to be okay. So I mentioned that I work side by side with this amazing physician, and here's my story. So when I was 30 years old, I had to have, and you know, a lot of you know that my mom died when I was really young. So I have been being tested for a very long time. And so I had a tumor in one of my breasts, and I had to have, and in my ovary. And so I had to have, at 30 years old, a hysterectomy. And I was not even remarried at that time, but my husband, you know, he came in. I didn't even know what my future was going to look like. I was scared to have a hysterectomy at so young. And he was like, I don't care about all that. I just want to spend every day that we can possibly live the next 1 year or 100 years together. And so we walked hand in hand. And the night before my surgery, he proposed. I said, yes. And y'all, it has been amazing, because I had a doctor that long before I even got into essential oils taught me that hormones can be naturally replaced. And it's the same thing as your natural estrogen by using and having plant-based foods and fish oil. And he taught me about vitamin A and vitamin B, and how you can do yoga and meditation and get a good night's sleep. And that will contribute to make your phytoestrogen levels high in your body, so that you can live a healthier option. And then we move forward to 5.5 years ago, and I got into essential oils and Young Living products. And man, you couldn't stop me then. So don't let your hormones, or if you're going through a struggle of trying to get them balanced, or if you're going through a hysterectomy at a young age, or if you've had cancer or anything like that, don't be fearful. I promise you, I will be 56 years old in just a few months. I have never felt better. I am just as youthful as anyone else. I can keep up with you and then some. I don't age that much because I know how to take care of my body. And every time I've ever gone in, they're like, whatever you're doing, just please keep doing it. So I wanted to just give you some encouragement to let you know that our hormones are just a thing. And with natural products, there are many options out there that you can absolutely feel your best. All right, so let's talk about some of those. So Endoflex. Endoflex is one of my absolute favorites. I use it every single morning. I actually have a roller top on this bottle. And let me tell you the latest way I like to do this. I put one drop in my hand, one drop in my mouth, and I have a burst of energy. It is the most incredible thing, and it helps to balance my hormones. Endoflex is one of those that creates that phytoestrogen. So that's the good, not xenoestrogen. It don't let your xenos in. We want our phytoestrogen in. And so this is one that naturally helps to promote that. The next one is Progessence. This one too is a phytoestrogen natural supporter, and it just gives you overall emotional health, and it gives us like a feeling of peaceful attitude. So here's 3 powerhouse oils. I do have a testimony on the clary sage. So let me tell you, I had a friend several years ago who went through a hysterectomy. I would have loved clary sage at the time that I went through that. But I definitely love clary sage now. But she went through a hysterectomy, and when she did her follow-up from her hysterectomy, her doctor wanted to put her on replacement therapy, estrogen replacement. And she took the sample packs, and as soon as she got out of there, y'all, she called me and she was like, I do not want to take this. What, I know you've got a plan with essential oils. And I said, yes, I do. And so I did a protocol with her using clary sage. Y'all, when she went back in to do her follow-up, she did not tell the doctor that she had not taken the samples. And when they checked her, she said the estrogen therapy is working beautifully. Everything looks healthy. Everything looks just like it should be. And she just gave her a script, and my friend walked out, tore up the script, called me and said that stuff is working. So clary sage is amazing. It is definitely one that if you are in menopausal age frame, you want to get it on. If you're not, you still want to get it on because it definitely will help to produce those phytoestrogens. Your lady scleral, if you are in your reproductive years, I would get this on you now. It is created especially for women to enhance their feminine nature. It helps to provide a relaxing experience when diffused. I love that one as well. And then also Dragon Time. Dragon Time was specifically designed and made specifically for women during that time of month. But guess what? Anyone, it doesn't matter whether you're still having a monthly cycle or not. Dragon Time is just an absolute amazing oil. All right, Progessence Plus. Every person in the world needs, every female needs Progessence Plus. Hello, it's 100% plant-based. I love this stuff. It's formulated specifically for women. It absorbs easily and fast into our skin. And the reason it was designed by Dr. Dan Purser and Gary Young to do that is because a lot of your hormonal replacements, like a progesterone cream, is very heavy and it just wants to sit and it doesn't absorb easily. This one is really, really fast and penetrates the skin and gets in there really quickly, and it just normalizes your hormone levels, and you don't have to even change where you put the application sites. There's no need for that. All right, Femigin. Femigin is one of the supplements that they have. It supports your reproductive system. So if you're still in that season of your life, it's definitely a good one. Maintains balance as women transition into menopause. So if that is you, I would definitely put it on my radar. Endogyze, daily support. All of us need this. It's just a good, healthy balance to our endocrine system overall. So all of these things that I talked about, this is just a really great supplement that's going to help to support that. All right, so I want to talk about cortisol really quick because this is also one of my favorite supplements for all of us women. At some point, you are going to be faced with your cortisol level too high. They're made by our adrenals. It's considered the hormone of death. Why? Because usually we don't stop producing it. Its intention is to help you handle stress, but when your stress levels continue, the levels continue to go up. They did a study on college girls, and their cortisol levels kept elevating up. So you want to try to control that, which means you're always trying to bring your cortisol levels back to a balance. The main function of your cortisol is your heart rate, your respiration, your blood pressure, regulates immune response, stimulates glucose, all of the things. And it helps us to not gain as much belly weight, because when you start doing that, I can almost bet for a female, then your cortisol levels are way too high. They automatically increase as we age. So our adrenals want to promote or produce more of that cortisol as we age. And we don't want it too low and we don't want it too high. We just need it to be in homeostasis and a natural balance. Woohoo! That was a lot of information for hormones, but I wanted to throw it all in 30 minutes, guys. I can't believe it. So I'm not even going to hold you off too late. Here's the thing. If you are invited by one of our sweet friends to this class, get with them and tell them, yes, you need to hook me up and help me to create a plan of the best products to get me started. They will be happy to do that. And nobody wants to pay full price. So when you get started, you want to do one of a couple of things to unlock your discount, and that is to put together $100 order, one-time $100 order. That's going to unlock your discount savings from that point on. Or you can put one product on your subscribe and save, and you get to choose if I want to do it, order it every month. It's just your wellness. I call it my wellness subscription box, and I get mine every month, but you can choose to do it every 2 months or every 3 months. And you change what's on that subscription every single month. You're not locked into anything. You're not locked into a certain product. You get to decide what that is and what your needs are. So get with the person that invited you to this class, find out and talk with them and get you started. And I promise you, your hormones will thank you, and just your overall wellness will be so much better. I promise you. And remember, we do these classes every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. So we invite you to come back and join us. Good night, guys.